Welcome to the White Sox Recap Podcast. I am Ryan McGuffey. Well, it's finally here after a long off season of speculation about how many wins will the White Sox have? Are they a contender, etc. The 60-win White Sox of 2025 are no more, and it's time for the 2026 version, which also means it's time for us to go around the horn with our 2026 White Sox season predictions. Last year, somehow Brian Anderson won. I think he had four correct. He had four correct, which was good enough to take home the 2025 crown. Jonathan Hoodie joins us this year as the trio of us gets set to pick our all-stars. How many home runs will Mooney Murakami have? Colson Montgomery, can he keep it up? That torrid pace that he had in the second half. Surprise players, the good, the bad. And will this group sit in Section 108 in 2026? I have a feeling that answer is yes. It's the 2026 Season Predictions Podcast right here on the White Sox Recap Podcast, and it starts right now. All right, boys, it's officially here. I'm so glad that we're not talking about spring training and spring. Oh, look at Hoodie. He's already ready to go. Look at him. Chicago in the City Connect. You know, he's ready to put the Bulls to bed, but the City Connect jersey is on. We got the hat on. Boys, let's tee it up. It's finally here, the 2026 baseball season. Jonathan Hood.
How about that, BA? Finally, we're ready for baseball, and I'm going to inject the 2026 season into my veins. I'm going to walk around with a White Sox IV for 162 games. You know why? Because I don't know if tomorrow's promised in Major League Baseball, so I'm going to enjoy this season for whatever it is for the White Sox. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great ride.
Well, Hoodie, I'm just excited that you'll actually get to complete a task, unlike when you do a Northwestern UIC game, and they're like, hey, man, good call today. We'll see you next time when we shut it down on the 7th.
Some lights at Miller Park in Evanston would be really nice. A lot of money there. Maybe put some lights up. That'd be good.
I got all my money in Evanston.
Don't worry about the other stadium 200 yards away that could light up the entire city. Just other than the 4 baseball lights, they would need to complete 9 innings during the day.
All right, boys, we have plenty here. I have 13 or so predictions. You want to dive right in?
Sure.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to tee you guys up. Let's just go the way I see it. We'll go Hoodie, BA, and then I'll finish it off, and we'll go to the next topic. We're going to start 2026 with the way 2025 ended, and that's with Shane Smith leading the rotation in probably the most unpredictable way. A year ago, the guy made the team, and we were like, hey, what a great story. We didn't know he'd go on to an all-star year where he finished 7-8 with a 3.81, led the staff in innings with 146 in the third, and the staff in strikeouts with 145. So I ask you, can he do it again? What will Shane Smith's stat line be? Record ERA and strikeouts in 2026, Jonathan Hood.
That's a 9-10 record for Shane Smith with 135 strikeouts and an under 4 ERA.
Sign me up.
Hey, Hoodie, listen, Guff and I get a little serious towards the end here. I need to dial it in on the ERA a little bit. It's very vague. That gives you a full point.
Yeah, we like detail.
A 3.98 ERA. That'd be under 4, BA. Is all right?
Now, hey, we're trying to win points here.
Bob Barker your ass if you go over like
$1.
Come on down, Rob Roddy.
3.98 ERA, BA.
All right. Mine, I'm a little more generous for Shane Smith because he treated us.
Of course you are.
10-7 with a 3.2 ERA and 150 strikeouts.
How many strikeouts?
150.
Did you say 3.2 ERA?
Sorry, 3.28.
All right, fine. Well, we'll see him if that's the case. BA, if that's the case, we'll see him in a different uniform in August. So, just saying.
All right. Well, I have Shane Smith as an 11-game winner, 11-9 with a 4.04. I'm going to be the guy that inflates the balloon a little bit, but I'll take an 11-9 with a 4.04. The White Sox haven't had a 10-game winner in a couple of years. Think about that. Oh,
wow.
So yeah. So that's where I'm going there. In terms of strikeouts, I think he's going to have a little bit more than the 146 in the third innings pitched this year. Quite frankly, with the depth of the staff, and we've talked about this, they need him to get more in that 165 threshold. So I'm going to go 156 strikeouts, 11 more strikeouts than last year. But if the three of us clearly are saying what I've learned in this prediction is that we believe in Shane Smith to be the guy that can put 2 seasons together.
The hope is that is a complete season in a White Sox uniform.
Okay, well, I think you're teasing. That's a tease in this business of a potential prediction that we have later in the program. So we'll bring that back. I'll bring Shane Smith back when we get to that prediction. Let's go to prediction number 2. We saw what Colson Montgomery did last year. 71 games, 21 homers, 55 RBI. His slash line, a little all over the place, 239, 311, 529 slug, and 840 OPS. Guys, just to put this into perspective, I want people to hear this. These are the numbers if you projected it over 162 Colson Montgomery was on pace for last year. 48 bombs and 125 RBI. So here's the question. Speaking of guys who can put it together back to back, I ask you, I'm going to go old school with this slash line because now we hear so much about average, OBP, slug. I want the average homers, RBIs for Colson Montgomery, Jonathan Hood.
That's a 245 batting average with 28 homers and 95 runs batted in.
Ooh, interesting. I like the heavy RBI total.
Well, here's the thing. My hope is that early in the season that there's ducks on the pond. That algorithm, that number you gave, the projection from last year, the computer didn't know how bad it was in one-run games, and that there was a penchant to hit solo home runs with nobody on base. It sounds good if you have a good baseball team, those numbers through 162, but when you have no one on base, you're not getting those RBI numbers. You're just not. But I feel like that RBI number and the batting average, did I say 245?
Yeah.
245, that's kind of part of the team. It's not necessarily against him. It's just about the ball club.
Well, we know average isn't what it used to be. Like if you're telling me the OPS is in the 840s and above, I can live all day. There's other guys I need to hit with for higher average than if Colson Montgomery's driving in 95. I'm just fine with that. BA, what do you got?
I had him at 245.
Triple crown?
I had
Triple crown winner?
45 too, so I'm just going to change it. I'm just going to put 244. I got 24 with 22 homers and 70 ribbies. Not that I think he's going to have a down year. It's just with the full season, a little bit more pressure, coming on him because they have a much better team this year, a much more exciting team. I think that he's going to have to get through those tougher times like in April, and I'm hoping he doesn't, go down a skid, but it's inevitable. You're gonna get leaned on a little bit at some point. Some of these guys are gonna really start attacking him. The games will matter early in the season. I think last year, a lot of those games were kind of like, hey man, go out there, go 2 for 4. If we win, we win. We don't, we don't. So 244, 22, and 70.
All right, so I think a lot of fans are going to hear that and go, what the hell? He did that pretty much last year in 71 games. But BA, I ask you as a former player, you hear a lot about sophomore slumps. You just alluded to it, like this will be his first April with the club. He hit under 200 in spring training, and we know that that's not really what matters because you just want this. Guys are doing work, et cetera. He had a couple of bombs in spring, but how the inevitability of a slump, how can a guy like Colson Montgomery, knowing the talent he has, play through that and come through it out clean on the other side?
Well, I mean, I've seen guys like a power hitter like Jim Thome, where, he'll carry us for 2 weeks and then, for a series, he'll just look lost. And it's crazy because this is one of the most professional, amazing players I've ever played with. And knowing that he can still feel lost to the plate, you're like, man, if it can happen to him, it can happen to anybody. And Colson's not immune to that. So I'm just hoping his skid, when it does come, it's one of the ones he bounces back from. But, I think these games will matter a lot more. These pitchers are no longer just going to feed him heaters. 3-1, 2-0. They're like, here you go. Hit this backdoor slider if you want, or take your walk.
I think you're right. And there's a lot more video out on Colson Montgomery now and the White Sox, especially in the beginning of the season. You got to remember the second half of the season, you're seeing a lot of different pitchers. Some teams are cashing their chips in early. So I do hear you there. I'm going to go a little bit more optimistic in some of these ways. I'm going to play it out over the idea that he will have a slump, but I think the power is real. I didn't know how real the power was. I think what we did see, he hit a lot of fastballs, yes, but we did see him. The power was raw and real. It's almost like a PCA on the north side of town. I didn't expect PCA to have 30 home runs. I didn't expect Colson Montgomery to come up here and hit 20 plus in half of a season. I got 240. I'm going to stick him right down there in the 240, which is a tick above what he had last year in 71 games. I'm going to get to 30. I think he has 30 home run potential. There's no doubt about it with what we saw last year. And then I'm just going to split the 162 in half and live at 81 RBI. So I do think the White Sox lineup is more full. It's more balanced, win healthy, especially when Kyle Teal is back. I do think there's going to be duck on the ponds opportunities with Murakami and the question that he brings in the middle of the lineup. So I like Hoodie's optimism of the 95. So we're at 28 homers. We're at 22 homers. We're at 30 home runs. So Colson Montgomery, regardless, those numbers, you kind of know what you got there for the White Sox in the middle of the lineup. All right, number 3. This is
quick though, Guff, from an RBI standpoint. Don't forget, man. Like you see it all the time. It's not that he would play bad, but if you have Murakami batting fourth and he's batting fifth, if Murakami's going off and hammering the ball and driving in runs, it's like, hey, man, like so what? Murakami's on first and he hits a 2-run single or 2-run double. Like you'd have to hit a double to score him. It's like it's a lot of pressure on that next guy.
It's what BA talked about. I might be over my skis from a home run standpoint, but if nothing else, if they're not giving him stuff to hit, if they're pitching him on the corners, he has to readjust. He's got to readjust with those wrists, those hands, and to be able to pull the ball. And maybe it's RBI opportunities more so than home runs, but I feel like he could be able to drive the ball. Singles and doubles, just as good. Just make sure that you drive in runs.
Well, if you remember, for those who listened to the last episode we talked about Shane Smith and Colson Montgomery. Are they taking the next step to stardom? And we heard from Colson Montgomery, Hoodie, say exactly what you just said. You were clapping when you heard the soundbite because he talked about, sometimes I just didn't need to do too much. I was so worried about that before he went to Arizona that he knew in an 0 for 4, he can come up with all if I need to do is move that guy over. That's the same mentality he could have going into the season where, let's say he does get off to a quote unquote cold start in April, but if he's going 1 for 4 and he has a sac fly RBI to drive in a game when he's not feeling it, that's a guy who's figuring it out on the fly. Let's get to number 3, which if you're a fan of this program, you probably know this one. This one might be one of my favorites. So he's shaking his head. This is a fun one. So we know about Luis Angel Acuna. I think Fangraphs did the projections for team rankings in the outfield. The White Sox ranked 28th, 29th, and 30th in left field, center field, and right field. Luis Angel Acuna had a great spring. I know I talked about spring, how it doesn't matter. I think it matters for some guys. The Luis Robert situation, I hope it's the last time I bring him up. You know it won't be. You know it won't be. Did you notice the guy barely played in spring? I mean, they're slow playing him. They're saving his legs. So I ask a legs question. Who will have more stolen bases? Luis Angel Acuna for the White Sox or Luis Robert Jr. for the New York Mets? Luis Robert had 33 a year ago. Jonathan Hood, keep me laughing on this one.
There's no question that it's going to be Acuna. I expect him to be that's my center fielder. That's my guy. There's no one else in the roster I want to play center field than Acuna. And whatever mistakes he makes, BA as a young player, whatever, I just like the name on the back of the jersey. There's some lineage there where I think that guy can be able to get the job done. I believe Acuna will be healthier than Luis Robert. Duh. So I think that when Acuna gets on, draws a walk, puts his elbow out there and gets hit by a pitch, he's getting second base because I think the aggressiveness of the Sox will show this year. So I'm going with Acuna with more stolen bases than Luis Robert.
See, I'm going to go with Luis Robert only because he wants to cause turmoil and stress in Guff and I's life. He's going to have weird if he goes off this year, then he's up for a major contract and he's going to be healthy
No, he's not. He'll just get his option picked up. It's great.
I know, but listen, hey, every year he's like, wait a minute, no matter what I do, they're going to give me $20 million. What if I try hard? So I'm just going to go with Luis Robert just because he likes to mess with Guff and I.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, there's no shot on that. To take one from your morning show with Cap, I got no shot. I'm with Hoodie on this one. This is Acuna to me quite comfortably. I don't, just by seeing how the Mets have treated Robert in spring training, that they're talking about saving his legs, on the backfields he hit one at 114 miles per. I don't care. How many times have we heard about the BA? What you did on the backfields, only like 4 people saw. We never saw that. It was like, man, on BA, he's 5 for 6 back there.
I watched Cederko lead off on the backfields one time. He struck out, but he lead off every inning, so he got like 8 at bats just to get him some reps. He's coming back from injury. He struck out like 7 straight times. You know how much he carried? He did not.
That also did not get reported. It only gets reported when the guy goes 6 for 8.
Yeah.
Like,
God bless Paul Canarco, the Cactus League Hall of Famer.
I love it. I love it. He's like, yeah, I got the call. I didn't even know that was a real thing.
So I'm going to Acuna because you know why, Coach? You know why? Because what's the best ability? Availability.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, Hoodie, thank you for taking the bait on that question. I'm with you. I'll give Robert 10 bases. That's how comfortable I feel on that question. Let's get to, that's how comfortable I feel. I think he's going to hit like 7th for the Mets. They're not even going to ask him to do the same type of stuff he was with the White Sox. 4. All right. This one, I have zero feel for this one where the 3 of us go on it. Cause I think somebody could go really low. I think somebody could go really high. Babe Ruth of Japan, the excitement of Mooney Murakami and right field section. Be on alert. I see Hoodie kind of reaching for his head there. How many home runs for the Japanese slugger, Mooney Murakami? Hoodie.
I don't know what this is, Guff. I don't know what to expect. I wrote down just a number, and I'm hoping it's more than the number I wrote down, but I wrote down 19 bombs.
Wow.
I don't know what that is.
I think that's okay. I think didn't 2 years, 34 million, wasn't that kind of like 19 bombs because it was so unexpected? It feels like that to me.
Yeah. I have no idea what to expect there. Okay, I don't know what to expect. I expect 100 strikeouts, but I don't know. But I don't know the rest of it, though. I have no idea. A quality first base and maybe 100 strikeouts. I have no idea what the rest of it is. I hope it's great. I hope he plays over his skis, and that is the steal of the century for the White Sox. That's the hope.
Yeah, even if it's anywhere around that, man, it's still a steal. I have him leading the team in homers with 23.
Okay.
So you have Colson with 22, Mooney with 23. Okay. Yeah. By the way, like that's not crazy. I mean, like look at the home run leader for the White Sox the last couple of years. I mean, that you're looking at that number.
No doubt. Yeah.
Why is it 23? Like your experience with guys making the jump from whether it's Japan or Korea, wherever it might be, what's the biggest hurdle for Mooney Murakami?
Well, I mean, look at when he goes back where he played, I think, for Yakult, right? I mean, when he's there, it's like everything, it revolves around him, man. He's going to have to get comfortable being like the White Sox are going to boo him at some point. And I guarantee you he's not used to that, the White Sox fans. So at some point he's going to be stuck over there at DH or first base or whatever, and they're going to be like, go back to Japan, you fucking suck. I mean, he's never heard that, you know?
I don't know.
He could laugh it off. Maybe he might be like, hey, translator. No, but like, you know, he'll have the guys in Section 108 rallying around him and whatnot, but he could, I think he's going to bring that excitement, that fan presence, and he's going to hit home runs. But man, we all know what that looks like. You start getting those back foot sliders from power pitchers that he just waves over the top of, kind of like the swing where he already knows he's out. He's just like laughing. I mean, it could start to get real streaky real quick.
I think it will be streaky. I expect it to be streaky. I expect that's why I didn't ask for a slash line with him. I don't like if you told me he hit 215, I'd be like, oh yeah, okay. If you told me he hit 260, I'd be like, okay. Because like Hoodie, I don't know, but I do know when I've seen the power, it's insane. Like hit ball go far, team go far type situation. We saw the grand slam in the WBC. We saw Shohei. We saw that, that famous Twitter clip of Shohei working with him on a stance. He was okay in the WBC.
Yeah.
I just think that there's a lot of there's a lot of velo here, as we know. Like you fall out of bed and kids are throwing 98. There's a lot of bad pitchers. The Minnesota Twins are a horseshit team. Yeah. They're going to face them a lot. The AL Central is what it is. Yeah, he's going to see Skubal and he's going to see the top line, that bullpen of the Tigers, but he's going to see a lot of bad teams as well. I got him hitting 33, guys. I'll take the over in this group. I think that he is going to fall into 10. I do. I just think there's just going to be some. I don't expect it to come fast and furious, but you just talked about streaky and come in bunches. If you told me Munetaka hit 6 homers in a week and then didn't hit one for 3 weeks, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. I just think no one knows, as to Hoodie's point, no one really knows. And everybody in baseball is like keeping one eye open because they're all curious if he's got it in there, if the home run king of Japan could come over here and do it, but no one wants to say yes definitively. And so it's up to him now.
I mean, first of all, beating the Twins while the Twins are down is the greatest wet dream for any White Sox fan. Beating the shit out of the Twins over and over again, that would make me so happy. That's one. But two, with Murakami's, what we talked about a few weeks ago, I don't know if this is your mean Mercedes.
Right.
I have no idea what this is. I guess we'll find out. Bases loaded 3-0. Does he have the green light? Is he swinging?
I think this team respects their manager more than that team did.
So, I don't know. He didn't understand your mean. He didn't understand the rules. Like, I can still swing at this, right? It's over how to play 3-0. Can I do that? Can I? No? Okay. All right.
All right. So 19, 23, and 33. So I was right. Somewhere in between there. Hopefully he hits 40 and we're all just sitting here going, man, what a steal. You heard BA allude to section 108. This just happens to be the next question on the predictions podcast. Oh. This has been long talked about. Social media, invites, just we've been ships in the night. But will the White Sox Recap podcast visit section 108 this season? Hoodie.
Hell yes. It's not yes, it's hell yes. Multiple times. We have to hang out with them. It's one thing to talk on social media, but those are diehard Sox fans, like we're diehard Sox fans. So absolutely, we should mingle. We should be able to bring the forces, the mega powers of the Sox Recap podcast and Section 108 together as one. I think we should do that.
BA?
I have this fantasy I've been playing out with Guff. Write that down.
Easy.
But I think I have this situation, scenario where, I do a pre-post for CHSN, and after we do the pregame, Guff, you and Guff are already there. I shoot down, suited and booted, sweat my ass off, and go jump in with you guys for about 20 minutes.
Well, I can promise you, Hoodie and I will already be there. Like that'll be, especially if you're doing the pregame. We'll be doing our own pregame show.
That's right.
You know what? Remember that catch you had? Remember the blackout game? Yeah. That was awesome.
Apparently it was 20 years ago.
We will be fully croissant to support you, BA. Fully croissant.
Nice.
All right. So obviously my answer is yes. I take the invite that I've given ourselves. It's also, they're going to see this. They're going to hear this. They know the invite's been out there looming. We're making this happen. So we're going to put dates on the calendar. This is going to be something that they're aware of. I like the idea of just dropping by too, kind of the Irish entry rather than the Irish exit. That would be kind of fun as well.
Yes.
About the halfway point here, this is always a fun one because when your team isn't a good team, you got to have one. I put for the first time in a couple of years the possibility of plural here just to keep it open to you guys. But who will be the White Sox all-star or stars in 2026, Hoodie?
It's Shane Smith. I only wrote down one name because I think that he'd be the most deserving.
Hey, I got
with those numbers you said at the beginning.
Yeah, sure. I tried to not be that. To me, I was like, you know what, that makes the most sense. But I've also played with some Japanese players. I've seen the buzz around them. And we all know what happens. I mean, if Murakami's off to even a decent start, if he's at 250 with 12 as they're putting a bow on the first half of the season, I mean, he might lead. He might be one of those guys that leads the AL in votes if he's off to a decent start. So,
see, I know I don't like ever double. Like I like having three separate answers here. I had Mooney on mine as well because of the Japan vote. The curiosity factor. You know, Brian LaHare made the All-Star team for the Cubs once. You know,
yes,
like, only Brian LaHare and his family remember that.
Yes.
So the Mooney curiosity and knowing that the fandom and the watchability from he's all over billboards over there. Obviously, he's got it. The numbers have to back it up. If he hits 111 with a homer and 4 RBI in April, it's going to be really tough to be the representative here. Shane Smith, smart, safe pick. It's a really just educational guy who's watched plenty of White Sox baseball and understands that. I want this pick. I just wanted to pick Kyle Teal so bad. And then he got, I'm being 100. I think that kid is so motivated to be great. And then and you saw it in the WBC. And he even said it to me here on the pod that he has a goal and he's not afraid to say it out loud that I want to be an all-star in 2026. So that sucks because I feel like the rug was pulled out from me and certainly him. So this is really all about me at the end of the day and trying to beat you guys in this predictions podcast.
Sure.
But I'm going to go with Mooney as well. I'm going to go with the Mooney factor because if he hits 15 in the first half, and this is why I don't know, because I don't know the answer to this question, because no one in a million years last year picked Shane. If we had 26 votes last year, I don't know where we'd pick Shane Smith, 24th on the list last year. So I'm going Mooney.
I just gave you chalk, though, by giving you who I think is going to be the best starter.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just tell you, if Murakami sucks, you know what you do with that ballot? If you're Major League Baseball, you put it right in the hand, right it is, right? You throw it away. You put it right there in the garbage. Pretend like it didn't happen. Here's the thing. My White Sox All-Star has to be good. I don't want him coming in with the Japanese vote just because he's Japanese. I don't want a guy. I don't want my guy.
No, that's something. There's a lot of All-Stars who aren't good because there has to be one.
Like who?
They have a good first half. I just gave you one, Brian LaHare.
Let's not go back to Brian LaHare. I'm talking about for my team. I want my guy to be good. If Shane Smith's going to be there for an inning in relief, he deserves that. I don't want a guy hitting 189 because he's Japanese and gets in there.
Well, the only way that would happen is if he won if he's hitting 189 and makes the All-Star team, then this season sucks. This team will compete for the 41 and 121 team.
I will tell you this. No one will be more aggravated than Ryan McGuffey at the All-Star game to see a guy who sucks in the Sox make the All-Star game. There's no question.
I don't even like the one per. I understand why they do it. I just don't even like the one per rule. I don't. I think I get why they do it. It's for fans. It's what it should be. Like your team should be there with the All-Star color hat. I get it. But I'm with you. There's got to be a threshold to make the All-Star team. So I'm saying that I'm saying the popularity of Mooney and that he's going to back it up. That's why I'm saying he's going to back it up enough to go, okay, like he's in the home run derby, you know, like.
No, I don't want him in the home run derby either. My God, you know it's going to end up happening. This is going to be off the board. It's going to be all-star for the Chicago White Sox, right fielder Austin Hayes. It'll be something like that.
Wow.
Watch. It'll be something completely off the board.
Oh, the odds of the field here are like minus 200 from the two guys that we just picked. All right, here we go. Next one. Speaking of, like, if we were doing favorites here, Edgar Carroll would be heavily juiced right now. Yeah. Who catches more games for the Chicago White Sox? Edgar Carroll, Kyle Teal, who we assume to be on the shelf through the month of April with a hammy, or $1.2 million man, the newly acquired Reese McGuire. He shakes his head in disgust. Jonathan Hood.
Reese McGuire back on this ball club. This is amazing. Does he own here? He doesn't rent here, right? I mean, he should own. Because somehow, some way, he's going to be a Cub or a White Sox. He'll always just be around.
He should own. It would have been a good investment for him.
You know what? This does not put a damper on the season for me.
Really?
No, but I feel sad that Teal's not starting the season.
Oh, I do too.
It's not a damper, but it's just like, damn.
It's a buzzkill. It's a buzzkill.
Yeah, and
so it's a professional sports. It's a grind. Like it does happen. Guys do get banged
I
up.
hate how it happened, though. I hate how it happened.
yeah, it just sucks. That's all. But you know what? He'll be it'll be as good as a quality call up from the minor leagues when he comes up, though. He'll have that kind of feeling of, hey, shot in the arm, Teal's back. That'll be good for the White Sox. But I'm going to lean Carroll with this, with the most starts.
I'm the same, man. You know, Carroll, I think that he's built for that. You could just tell when you look at him, you're like, this guy likes to catch. He likes to backdoor pick. He likes to stand up, throw the ball back hard to the pitcher and give him an attaboy. I mean, I just think he's got that catcher's mentality where Teal's like, I'm a great baseball player. I'll play kind of anywhere. I'll catch, I'll DH, I'll do whatever it takes to get on the field. Carroll's like built to catch.
I think you said it right there. I think there's been so much speculation. Even the other day when Reese McGuire, like that news came down about Corey, people are like, it's got to be a Carroll trade. And I'm like, are you out of your damn mind? What do you mean there's got to be a Carroll trade? That guy, to me, went into the offseason with a chip on his shoulder that, I can do this. I can do it at a high level, and I want to be great at the defensive position. And if the bat's good too, well, he was killing it in spring training for a while offensively. You saw him, the pop and pick from behind no plate. Look, it's almost a layup question, it feels like, but we don't know with injury, et cetera, hamstrings. Kyle Teal's probably the best athlete of that's not a big statement. You just said it, BA, about his ability to be versatile, and they're going to try to find a way to get Teal and Carroll going at the same time. This feels like Edgar Carroll, to me, is a catcher of the future, and Kyle Teal is a big part of the future. We just don't know where yet with the ability to, remember when Schwarber was a catcher and they just found it bats for him? I'm not comparing Teal to Schwarber, but I'm comparing him in that way. It's like, if he's that good offensively, we'll find a way and let Edgar Carroll just cook behind the plate. And people forget Edgar Carroll's 2 years old. So I like Edgar Carroll as well to be the man behind the plate.
Remember when Carlton Fisk was a catcher and they put him in left field?
Yeah, Tony La Russa for that. Yet the guy who did it.
So I'm clear about Corey Lee. What is his future? What happened there? Wasn't he having a good spring?
He was, and he's loved in the locker room. That one I tried to do some recon on. I don't think until he's actually gone, I don't know if anyone's really willing to spill the beans other than Will Venable has a history with Reese McGuire and felt more comfortable clearly about game plans. I don't know. It's a weird, wouldn't you have made that move like earlier in spring? It's a weird thing to me.
Yeah.
BA, what happened there? Do you know what happened to Corey Lee? What happened?
You know what? I've been there before, man. There's nothing worse than being kind of that 4A type in-between player where you're trying to get some opportunity and they sign like a vet and you're like, what the fuck am I doing here then? Like, what do you want me to do? Just burn down here? So let me tell you this, a lot of a minor league or future big leaguer struggles can be remedied by just playing off the charts well and having a good attitude. And at that position, if you stay healthy, you're going to get an opportunity. So, hopefully just stays a professional about it because there's 29 other teams that would gladly take another catcher. Yeah,
I mean, this is the first time in maybe my life the White Sox have been this rich a catcher. And for those who say, well, Corey Lee's tied to the Rick Hahn, front office, so is Edgar Carroll. Okay, yeah. Edgar Carroll was acquired in the Giolito Ronaldo Lopez trade. So this is not about like regime change. Chris was part of the old regime. This is about best player and right fit. And I'm sure the story will come out, their full story. Corey Lee's going to land somewhere, whether they may DFA him and then trade him. He's going to get traded, I think, at some point, probably for a flyer. All right, this is a fun one, too. We know about Noah Schultz and Hagen Smith, both who had like such high promise last year and then had injury issues throughout the season. Both showed signs of greatness, and I think they're going to be big parts of the White Sox rotation going forward. First to be called up and when, Noah Schultz or Hagen Smith. Now, Noah Schultz might have an early lean here as Hagen has been slower to get going. And Noah Schultz put on, I like when somebody puts on 20 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
Who calls up? Who's called up first and when?
I like Smith being called up by May 30th. How about that? June 1st. How about that?
June 1. Okay.
About June 1.
Hagen Smith gets the nod.
I mean, just elite fastball, wipeout slider. His delivery is elite as well. I just think that he's going to be a frontline starter for this team. He'll be a 1 or 2 if everything goes right. Blessed with good health, I think that he's got the stuff to be at the top of rotation for the White Sox.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Hey, knock on wood. The more I watch him pitch, I'm like, my God, that's so. It's harder for a righty. I think it's so uncomfortable and it's so funky. Unfortunately, with those funky arm motions, sometimes that they stay, injury free, and you're like, how'd that guy not get hurt again? Or sometimes they have Tommy John or a shoulder impingement, or they want to shut him down. But for me, it's going to be Hagen Smith, and it's going to be early. I'm saying like late April, only because the White Sox lack so much depth. And also, as the season progresses and he eats up innings, you always run the risk of them being like, well, we want to call him up, but we want to shut him down for 2 weeks. He's at 80 innings already, and you're like, okay, like at what point do you hit the gas? Like the goal is to make it in the big leagues. If you blow out, you blow out as a major leaguer. But there'd be nothing would be worse than to be like, oh well, I kept getting held back, and then my opportunity passed me up. It's like, dude, like if the White Sox are good, you're up. Like, or if they need you, you're gonna play. Like you're a number 1 pick.
Really conflicted on this one because of what you just said. Like, you want meaningful innings from these guys. You're already monitoring their innings, right? I mean, we know that there's probably an innings limit on both of these guys. So do you want them to be happening in Charlotte? Like what? So like Hoodie's June 1 to me, really, that gets you basically what, 8 starts in the minor leagues, 4 in April, 4 in May.
Yep.
And now you're right around June 1. And 8 starts kind of feels right to me. Like that feels like we're assuming health in all of our predictions, obviously. So that feel like here, the conservative side of me says, because the other question is who do they replace once they come up? You're not bringing them up to be in the bullpen. I just don't see if you're making them starters, they're starters. This is why I'm saying July. I'm saying July, and I'm saying they come up as a tandem because of some trades. And we're going to get the trades in a second. But you look at that rotation, it's full of question marks. Other than Smith, Anthony Kay, obviously brought over from Japan on a 2-year deal. Eric Fetty's back. He's a reclamation project. Sean Burke has some promise, and Davis Martin's been kind of the model of consistency. Jonathan Cannon's in AAA. Is like back probably the first call on the shuttle. So my thing is like, who are they coming in for? I mean, you could make a case for any one of those names. So I'm still going to say like after the All-Star break, there's going to be a trade or 2 made, and there's just going to be a natural fit. Now that makes me go, well, that's 10 to 12 starts in Charlotte. So don't have a great answer here. I'm going to stick with like the post All-Star break, 2.5 months of Schultz and Smith, and it's going to happen together.
If it's June 1st, you know what that means. June 1st, that's a Monday. Sox Twins at the rate.
Oh, that's a healthy, they always like to have the safe runways, right?
Let's go. Monday, June 1st, Twins. And his first victory for Hagen Smith. How about that?
And then followed by Tuesday against the Twins, Noah Schultz.
That's right.
Just give them both the same runway.
I love that. So, I mean, the answer to the question is yes. But since you had us pick one, for me, it's Hagen Smith.
Same here.
Yeah, he's got that Rodon-like slider that we've seen.
Oh, man, when he was good.
I'm pulling up the post All-Star break schedule because I wanted to see. I'm sure the Twins are probably there right after the All-Star break. Oh no, okay, not a safe landing space. At the Blue Jays, at the Rangers, home against the Astros, home against the Yankees. Maybe I'll reconsider my
DJ. It's 9-1 Yankees.
Oh baby,
I don't want that. Looks like he's going to have to go ahead and wear it.
All right, this is a natural lead. I just mentioned the deadline. So, Hoodie, I ask you, will the White Sox be buyers or sellers at the deadline? And who will be traded if, in fact, they are sellers?
Okay, so they're going to be sellers at the deadline, but not trading off a whole bunch of parts. The Sox don't need to do that.
Right.
You're keeping your young stars, but I'm sure there's some veterans that the Sox will trade, maybe multiple, to try to get more young assets. So we talked about Shane Smith. if Shane Smith is good, then he should stay a White Sox.
Yes.
But if not, if you go to Penny Pinch, then that's the top name. And then from there, Anthony Kay as well. I don't see it. Golf, I don't think it's position players, BA. I don't know if it's position players, but I think pitchers. I think we could be sellers there to get more young assets because we just talked about Schultz. We just talked about Smith. So if you feel like you're going backwards a little bit, and you feel like you need some more young kids, it'll be the pitching first that will go. But some of these position players, they'll stay.
Yeah, see, I'm going to take the neutral. Like I have them being holders and not doing anything. Where it might frustrate the fans only because – and there'll be a follow-up question, the last question of what their record will be. But I think the White Sox are going to be in a weird spot. They're going to be, probably just a tick behind contention, but they're like, man, if they need, if anything, I think they're going to be buyers. They might add an arm or something because of what I think their record might be.
Oh, did you say a tick behind contention? Is that what you said?
Okay, followed by they will be buyers.
Well, contention right now looks. All you got to do is get in that play-in game, man. Like that's contention.
All you got to do. They've won 101 games in 2 years.
Hey, just wait. Hey, follow up is due here shortly.
Wow.
All right, so I'm gonna rebrand Hoodie's answer because I think we have the same answer. I'm gonna call it soft sell. I'm gonna call it soft sellers. So the Anthony Kays, the Eric Fetty's, kind of like this year's Adrian Hauser, if you will. Maybe the one position player, I think, like Austin Hayes is a possibility, I think, and Benintendi would be like a super flyer, but he's just got too much money tied to him. But I think if they could move him, they would. And Sir Anthony Dominguez, I think, is part of that conversation as well due to his contract and depending on where the White Sox truly are. I think he's in consideration to be traded. But other than that, I'm with you. Like, this is a time where you got the dudes and you're right here. Like, I'm not where BA is saying tick above, but you're like, the wheel is like shifting to a year from now, assuming there's a season, that we are talking about possible soft buyers at the trade deadline. So I do think it's going to be soft veteran type guys. You're not going to be getting big returns. Davis Martin would be the name, I think. More, you said Shane Smith. I think Davis Martin is a guy, and I love him. Very underrated model of consistency for the White Sox. A really good number 3, eats up innings, takes the ball every 5th day, and is as reliable of a starter as the White Sox have had the last few years. I actually think he's a pretty attractive piece for a team looking for depth that's in contention. So that would be my name that probably could bring back some type of return. If you look at his age and where the White Sox are, you can make an argument. You got to keep more Davis Martins, but he seems to be more of the guy that fits the bill if you're looking to move on from players.
Well, if you're just a tick away from contention, you go through this lockout, then you come back and just get Albert Bell for 5 years, $55 million, and you're set.
That's it. That's all you need.
Lead the team in homers.
No.
Yeah, your former owner, Jerry Reinsdorf, was the one with his shoe off, pounding the table during the 94 strike, saying, we've got to be able to control this cost. The spending is over the top. And then as soon as he says that, he walks out and signs Albert Bell, 5 years, $55 million, and just fucked all the other owners. Got ahead of everybody else. You recall this, Cup, do you not?
And, I do I recall it?
Yeah.
The 94 strike flat out ruined my childhood. Like, it ruined my mid-teens Ryan McGuffey. All the shit that McGuire and Sosa have gotten and paid their penance for 20 years. There's not enough thank yous for those guys that brought people like me back to the game, because they knew what was going on, and that sport needed it. And if they allow this to happen again, and Jerry's going to be in the middle of these talks, by the way, still here for it.
Yeah.
And if they allow this to happen to the sport now, that actually is growing, even though viewership and trying to figure out where the game is at an all-time chaos and confusion, 18 to 34 demo is at an all-time high. And if you allow that, because players are actually marketing themselves and the sport's allowing it for the first time, if you allow that to be shut down, shame on you. And you get what you deserve. And that would suck again as 46-year-old Ryan McGuffey and not 14, 15-year-old Ryan McGuffey to have that taken away from us again, because we've talked about this, Hoodie and BA. they got us. Our demos, like, we're always going to come crawling back. Oh, baseball's back. Yeah, you got me. But in terms of everybody else, they are gone. Guys, kids aren't even watching the game. They're watching it as quick as they can on the recap and on TikTok and the highlights. That's what they want to see. So don't ruin that. Sorry to go off on a tangent there, but you got me all 94 fired up and Albert Belled. You haven't found me.
Yeah, Sox would have beat the Expos in 6, by the way, in 94.
It's just, I want to do at some point, and I know Frank's name has been public the last like 24 hours here. Frank's 94 season, talk about a season that's not talked about enough. I challenge someone to go. That season is it is one of the top 5 seasons in the history of the game. It is stupid what Frank was doing that year. How do you have in 113 games a 300 average, 30 plus homers, 100 RBIs, 100 runs, 100 walks in 113 games? Good luck.
Imagine if you did that hitting cleanup. What's the next question? Instead of leaving it for fucking Maglio.
Next question.
Be careful who's over your shoulder. Be careful.
You can answer both. We're going to knock them both out in one question. We got surprise player good, surprise player bad. Jonathan Hood, what do you got?
Surprise player good, Acuna. Surprise player bad, Vargas.
Oh my God.
Or Benintendi. Like, I mean, it's just like that's what it is.
I don't even know if that's a surprise anymore, though. Benintendi.
Yeah, I think so. Benintendi, he's going to be my surprise player good, only because for us, from a good standpoint, 260, with upper teens, 20 homers, 60 RBIs, leadership in the clubhouse, playing 100 plus games. I mean, that's going to be a surprise good for us. Or it makes, maybe he's the best case scenario, he's a surprise good because he gets traded and then we don't have to talk about it anymore.
Who's your bad?
I mean, for bad, for me, I was just thinking everything this year with the White Sox is going to be we're going to be pleasantly surprised. So I think there's just going to be more guys that are stepping up than being bad. The expectation isn't really high from an individual player standpoint, other than the 2 people we talked about, like Colson and Murakami, right? I think that, and I don't want to tell Hoodie, I don't want to say surprise good with a Mydroth because he'll freak out because he's like, he'll be good.
No, we're not surprised by that. Hoodie and I we're Mydroth guys.
Yeah,
this is Mydroth.
I expect him to be good.
So
okay, all right.
So you just DHSN approach. You nobody's bad.
So you're not gonna say Sean Newcomb. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I mean, let's just
DHSN approach. Hey man, no, it's all good.
11 and like 48 RBIs. Hoodie's gonna be throwing the confetti with you, and I'm gonna be like, that is like the most average season ever.
All right, I'll answer the question. I'll answer the good and the bad. I'll do both sides. The good, here's what sucks. So other than full disclosure here, other than I do give the guys all had the topics prior to we doing the podcast, but then we save the answers for the surprise element here. I know I have 26 options, but if I told you that my surprise was Luis Acuna and my bad was Miguel Vargas, you might not believe me, but it is. I'm going to be, for the sake of being different, because I think the Acuna one's. I'm high on Acuna. I just think he's out from the expectation of being the New York Met high prospect and being the little brother in the division to like kind of being like the no one talks about guy in Chicago, and allows him to just go out and do things. Talk about no expectation, BA. There is zero expectation on this guy. It's all about, that's the guy that they got in the Robert trade. Okay. So I'm going to go Grant Taylor though. And I'm leading to another answer. Okay. I don't know about a surprise. I think he's got expectation. I'll go Grant Taylor for my good. My bad is I think this is the last hurrah for Miguel Vargas. I do. And it might not be fair to Miguel Vargas to pick him in this answer in this spot. I was looking for a spot. I was thinking about a regression for a possible rookie from last year, but I do think this is probably the last shot for Miguel Vargas to prove he's part of your future, right, Hoodie? Like, yeah, I think that's why I picked him, because I feel like I have more questions than answers at this point. And like, can he do enough in 1 year to answer those questions? So by default, he's going to be my bad.
Okay. So I just need him to get on base more. 16 homers and 60 RBIs is fine. I just don't see him being the future. And I'm not trying to throw a 26-year-old outside of the organization, but he just needs to really step up here. This is a proven season for him.
I agree.
Can he get on base and be more of a catalyst for the Sox? That's what I want to know.
But let's talk about I'll take the 16 and 60. I just don't know about defensively either at a position that's so important. And I look at the minor leagues and know who's coming, and we know Rock is part of that. Rock Chalowski's coming. Caleb Bonnemer's coming. Like Carlson's coming. The White Sox are going to be rich at shortstop for the first time ever. And you know what happens when you keep those guys? One goes to second, one goes to third. Colson might move to third because you have better options at short. So this is kind of an odd man out situation for me. I just don't. From a defensive standpoint, and BA, you've done games for CHSN. Do you see enough from Miguel Vargas to make sure like he's your third baseman going forward?
Well, I think it's unfair for us to like really be too hard on him, only for the sake of argument. It's like, let's be honest. If there's a team out there that's like one of the better teams, he's probably not getting as many cracks at it as he did. And it's like, okay, he was able to put up numbers on a team that a couple years that were terrible with no pressure, because they're like, who cares? Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? A contender that the games truly do matter. Like, you're not just going to throw somebody over at third base unless they can really pick it. I mean, look who I've seen in the past that's over there. I mean, I played with Joe Creedy, man. Like, one thing we never had to worry about was anything going bad over there defensively. So when I don't see elite defensive play, I'm kind of like, well, that team must stink.
Yeah. Well, there's always going to be errors, we know, in baseball. But some of the mental errors the Sox can't deal with because of the lack of pitching that's on this team, especially relief pitching. I can't have 4 and 5 out innings. You know why? Because that'll lead to more one-run losses, which we're going to get to in a second. But that's the whole thing. I just need for them to pick it up and be stronger defensively. That way, you're just not going through these long innings because of mistakes at the corners. You want powers at the corners, but also I want great defense in the corners too.
Yep.
Yeah. If you want to have a chance and just have a good team and just compete at a high level, if you have you can have bad outfielders, that's bad. But if you have bad infielders defensively, it could be a long year.
All right, so let's get to the last couple here, and we'll fly through this one here because it's going to lead to the one-run games question that Hootie just brought up. This has been kind of a fun question the last couple of years because there's been no true definitive answer, and the White Sox went out and spent $20 million on Sir Anthony Dominguez. I don't know if it's the default answer here, and it might be, but who will lead the team in saves? Hootie.
How long is Dominguez is going to be here? All season or half a season?
I brought him up as a trade candidate. I don't know. And Michael Kopech, two years ago, Michael Kopech led the teams in saves and was traded at the deadline. So he could still be the guy.
I lean Leisure, but I wrote down Dominguez, especially if he's going to be here for the long haul. He is the guy, and he'll have more opportunities than the closer last year.
Jordan Leisure led the team with 7 last year. Leisure is a good backup candidate that I didn't consider. Go ahead.
Dominguez is saying, I'm saying it's just the default answer here. Plus, like you start looking at your options, like what are they going to do if they're in a pinch? Call up Jonathan Cannon. Cannon's going to come up, light it up, be your closer. Grant Taylor. I mean, Grant Taylor checks the box as far as like stuff wise, but I mean, you're not putting an inexperienced guy in there that you certainly didn't give a lot of money to, unless you're certain he can get outs in the ninth.
I do. So I'm going to, because I want to be different, I'm putting Grant Taylor here because I do think there could be a transitional type situation and maybe there's a trade involved. I don't know. The only thing that I raise somewhat of caution, and that's why Leisure's might be a better spot here, is because I think Grant Taylor is going to take the role of Mike Vassell. That's 100 innings that you need to figure out how to replace. That dude had a lot of multi-inning outings, and now he's gone, and you didn't really replace him. And I think they're relying on Grant Taylor to be a multi-inning guy. But I think there's going to be situations where Will Venable isn't going to be locked in to the 9th inning with Dominguez if 2, 3, and 4 from the Blue Jays are coming up in the 8th. And so I think we could see a situation where Dominguez could have 15 saves and Taylor could have 12 or Leisure could have 12. I to be honest with you, I would love nothing more than Dominguez to have like 34 saves and he's here for the whole year. And I know that's insane. It's insanity, but to know that they can work backwards and everyone's locked into roles, I think that would help Will Venable, which leads to the next question. White Sox in one-run games. The last 2 years, 28 and 65. I'm going to repeat that. The last 2 years, the White Sox are 28 and 65 in one-run games. They were 15 and 36 a year ago, worse than the 13 and 29 of 2024. So they went out and spent the $20 million on Dominguez. At least the back end with Taylor and Leisure feels a little bit more solidified. I think we know a little bit more about Taylor and Leisure. You mentioned Cannon, and don't laugh it off. I actually think his future could be like a nasty seventh inning guy. So 15 and 36 a year ago, Jonathan Hood, White Sox in one-run games this season.
The Sox will win 25 one-run games.
Wow.
That's a big
that's a massive jump.
Massive jump from 16 last year. So 25 one-run games. They'll improve there. And that obviously improves the win total. So I expect them to be much better in that spot.
BA?
More specific, I think the White Sox will be at 500 in one-run games, which will end up leading to the last question of the pod. But I think they'll be like 22 and 22. I think that they'll be in a situation where that drastically changes and puts them in a much better, more competitive like position in the AL Central.
So 42 games in 24, 51 in 25. I'm kind of splitting the difference here. All of us expect this number to jump. I'm going 21 and 25. I'm going to say they 46. So somewhere in between the 51 games played and the 42 2 years ago. I'm going to go 46 games, 21 and 25, which I think any number of what the three of us just came up with means we're watching a much better product on the field, Hoodie.
That also means that 7th, 8th, and 9th, you've got to figure it out at least for a little bit. Come out of the bullpen.
Correct.
Because that matters too in a big way. If Dominguez is your closer, then you figure out your 7th and 8th. And by the way, if I'm Jonathan Cannon, just one quick thing on him. Okay, you got sent to the minors. You know what? You bust your ass and you make waves and you get back up here.
What's the issue?
You show them like, okay, no problem. I'm going to get back up here. I'm going to show you that I belong. Good for him. You know what? It's okay.
I think he's got enough moxie. He's got enough moxie too to understand like going to AAA isn't necessarily for the Knights; it's for him. You know what I mean? Like he's not there trying to win games for Charlotte. He's there trying to get his ass back to Chicago as soon as possible.
Yeah, and by the way, Grant Taylor, lousy name for the closer. Got to have something with some flourish like a Leisure or
like Sir Anthony.
Sir Anthony.
Yeah,
Grant Taylor. That's your banker.
It really is. If you haven't filed your taxes yet, Grant Taylor will be your. All right, for the last one, we know what the answer is going to be, or we know what the question is going to be.
Yes.
The White Sox, 41 and 121, 19 game jump a year ago to 60 and 102. 19 games, almost 100% of the times winning manager of the year. Like 19 game improvement almost never happens. But when you have 41 wins, you know, there's only one way to go. All right, so where are we at, Hoodie? The White Sox record in 2026.
Okay, 2026. This,
look it up,
my friends. No, not looking it up. Absolutely not.
He's got it on the yellow pad. I know he does.
Yeah, of course it is. That is. You see that?
Straight
come out
70.
That's a 70-win ball club.
70 burger.
That's a 70-win ball club for the Chicago, the American League ball club. The Chicago American League Ball Club will win 70 games this upcoming season.
A 10-game improvement. That is a 29-game improvement under Will Venable.
Yep. And we'll get Manager of the Year votes.
Really?
With that improvement from one to the other, yeah.
Okay.
It might be just one. It might be you.
Like a 4th or 5th place vote or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but he'll get one. Absolutely.
Okay. Merkel gave it to him.
Yeah. I'm going to separate myself from the pack, and I'm going to say that the U.S. American League Chicago sports team is going to have 80 and 82. I'm going to have them. They're my 2025 Reds. We've talked about this. I can't talk shit, Guff. I can't.
I said, can they be? We want them to be. Can they be? But no. You're saying yes.
But in order for them to be, you can't be in the 70s. So 80 and 82, they're going to be right up there. Hoodie, we're laughing now. But you know what? Hey, what's the point of doing this podcast if you don't separate yourself?
I love you. I love that we have
That's great.
Yeah, if we all said 69, 70, and 71, everyone's like, okay. 80 and 82. Man, I hope so. Then you know what? Then you're right. There might be a soft buyer. We'll see. All right. So I will say my record is they're going to go from the 100 loss plateau. They're going to skip 90s. They're going to skip the 90s, but they're just going to be 73 and 89 is what I have them at. So me and Hoodie are like right there. I got them like staying out of the 90 loss situation. Here's do I want them to be the 2025 Reds? The answer for all three of us is 100%. We want the White Sox to be the wild card team, the third wild card in the American League, and whatever happens. They get swept by the Blue Jays or whatever. That would be phenomenal. Oh. I just don't think they did enough in the offseason to warrant such a prediction. And in particular, I needed some type of commitment to the starting staff that looked a little bit different than the one that they made. It's like a little. I don't mind Anthony Kay and Eric Fetties. I just would have liked a more like I'm trying to think of a name off the top of my head. They're like a 3-year deal type situation. I mean, he's not coming back here, but like Lucas Giolito's still hanging out there as a free agent. So like, I mean, I just don't think there's enough pitching, and I want to be wrong here. I just to go to that jump. You're talking about going from 60 to 84, 85. I know you said 80, but to be that third walk, that's a massive financial commitment or like career years from 20 of these guys. So I'm going to stay in the 73 win.
How about this, Brian? How about this? Yes. If the Sox are off to that kind of run up to the trade deadline, you know what? They can't get 80. You know why? Because Getz will prospect hug. There's just no way. Like, I mean, if they're going in that direction, that means that you'd rather be a buyer than a seller. Yeah. So if you get there, Getz is going to say, well, we're not ready for that yet, because they know that 80 and 82 does not get them in the playoffs. No, and so even if you get there, you can't get to 80 wins because he's tamping it down to a certain level. The other thing is that when Terry Francona manages, it's already a +5. Yeah. So that's right on the margins right there. With the Reds getting the playoffs, it's because it's Tito. It's +5 when he steps into the dugout.
Yeah,
I think Will Venable. I'm not going to compare him to a Hall of Famer, but I do think what I've seen in spring training, they've taken a million extra bases. They're doing because that's what they have to do because they know what the type of team they are. I think Will Venable has the potential to be like a +2.5, +3 this year. I do, but
let's see.
But that's 73 to me and not 70 instead of 84 instead of 80. You know?
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, I just tell you, my default whenever we talk about trading and should this guy get this and should they hold him back, and I'm like, would it kill a team that breaks camp with the occasional up and down guy call up, maybe last minute trade at the deadline? Like, would it kill a team and its nucleus to actually perform and do their fucking job? Like, seriously, and we're making excuses for him. I'm guilty too, but there was a time in Major League Baseball where they're like, hey man, you guys have all earned it. This is our product, and the product is good. It doesn't spoil. You don't need to add and shift 50 things out of the fridge. Like, dude, go play and beat teams. It has happened before. They have broke camp and been like, man, they really overachieved. Like, why not them,
Yeah, I mean, that's the 2005 White Sox, of course, a veteran-laden team, but we'll see. We didn't talk about in BA. I probably still owe you lunch for this, but whoever wins this, what are we putting on the line here for us, boys?
It's Chicago Cut Steakhouse, of course.
Of course. Yeah, I'll bring out the card. It's on the
David Kaplan special omelet at that restaurant.
So here's the thing. It's Chicago Cut Steakhouse, but we pay with cash, our own cash.
I like
it. None of sleight of hand, none of this shell on the L kind of situation. None of that bullshit. No. Let's not do that. Let's not do the 3-card money. Let's just get the cash, old school, and put it right in the little billfold for the lady. Thank you.
Bring me back my cash. Say we don't need anything. We're good here. Yeah.
Bring me back my cash.
White Sox and you don't want to cash or prospect or make a last minute trade. Like, we can actually go to dinner, eat, and be like, high five, see you later. Great.
Yeah, 100%. All right, that's what's on the line. So I didn't tell you that beforehand because I didn't want you to really do any type of deep research, even though I know even though I know we did. And a couple of us have the same damn answers, like Munetaka Murakami to go to the All-Star game, which I'm reconsidering 65 minutes into the podcast.
And then you and I have the same things about a couple of the players.
We did. I'll take Taylor instead of Acuna just to be different for the surprise player, but I'm not changing my Vargas. I think I've talked that into existence. So
yeah. And lastly, is Lenine Sosa still on this roster?
Good Lord.
That actually should have. That's the bonus question. Is Lenine Sosa on the roster? 20 plus homers. Where is Lenine Sosa?
I just want to know if he's still on the roster. And what does he do for a living? Fair question.
Edition of the White Sox Recap Podcast. Always fun, boys. This is literally one of my favorite podcasts of the year, and which also means that the next podcast we do, we'll be talking about real baseball, tangible baseball that we're watching with our eyes that counts for wins and losses. So until next time, for Jonathan Hood, for Brian Anderson, you have been watching and listening to the White Sox Recap Podcast here on YouTube on Recap. If you haven't done so already, join the 250,000 people who have already done so. Be a subscriber. Get the notification. Every time you get a new podcast or we drop a new podcast, you get the notification and boom, we are there for you. I'm just proud of Hoodie for never swapping out. For the first time ever, Hoodie didn't go to his second team, which is the Milwaukee Brewers. And why is that, Jonathan Hood?
Because we're playing the Brewers. Duh.
Because we're opening with the Brewers.
That's right.
Smart White Sox baseball fans unite. For Hoodie, for BA, we appreciate you watching and listening to this edition of the White Sox Recap Podcast.
Bring back the palm ball.